What is up, fellow Eagle fans, and welcome to week 2 of the NFL season here for season 9 of Season of the Fan. Of course, last week the Eagles took on the Detroit Lions, and they got a win. And listen, a win's a win's a win. And I know football is the one sport that will always have overreactions to it. Never underreactions, always overreactions. And there was a lot to talk about, right? And a win, and a big win, right? Both teams scoring over 30 points. It was just one of those kind of games, right? But the Eagles walked away with a win, and one of the reasons why they were able to do that is because Jalen Hurts, and I understand, did he throw the ball over the field? No, but he was able to feel the pressure coming his way, get out of it in some situations, and use his feet to make some plays. And listen, this season still is about who is Jalen Hurts. Can this team go forward after this season with Jalen Hurts? And time will tell. Time will tell with that. I think it's always hard to assess the September games. Particularly these days when a lot of teams, not just the Eagles, I know the Eagles are on the forefront of everyone's mind, right? But it's not just the Eagles that don't hit in practice. No, they don't do this. The starters don't do this or that. A lot of teams do that. So what do you see in the first few weeks of the season? You see a lot of sloppy football. You see a lot of sloppy football, and you see that with not just the Eagles. You see that with other teams too. And I might remind some people that the Lions were the hard knocks darlings, right? Oh, look at them, they're hitting in practice. Oh, look at them, they're going at it, they're going at it, they're going at it. One of the game's most pivotal plays, I can't say that 5 times fast. Pivotal moments came late in the fourth quarter with the Eagles with the football up by 3. And on a third down situation, I believe, if memory serves, it was a third down situation. Miles Sanders got out of a few tackles and went for a big first down. There was a couple missed tackles in there by the team that hit during the offseason in the Lions, right? And the Lions, even with all that hitting and all that, look at that, up, down, up, down, up, down, right? They gave up 30-plus points in week 1 at home. In their home opener, and the fans were all jazzed, and look at the Detroit fan, Detroit's back, and the Eagles were able to walk away with a win, score over 30 points. You take away that pick six, they still scored over 30 points in a win. And when push came to shove, when it was down to it, and it was the most important drive of the game, with the Eagles nursing a 3-point lead, they were able to run the clock out, literally, and win the football game. And at the end of the day, if you're a good football team, if you're a team that has aspirations to doing some good things in that season, that's the type of game that you have to win. When not everything's going to go perfect and you're not going to have a blowout win, it's a close game on the road in hostile environment, and you still find a way to come away with a victory. And that was important. And it was good to see that, and I'd much rather be sitting here in this chair right now coming to you for week 2 of Season of the Fan in this season 1-0 rather than 0-1. And that game, listen, it could have been 0-1. I mean, there were times in that game, even though the Eagles, they had that lead, the Lions are coming back, and give the Lions a lot of credit for that. I said before the game last week that the Lions are going to be a better team this year, that they could be a potential wild card type team, maybe even contend for the division with the Packers this season, right? I really do feel that they're going to have a better season, and they're not going to be the same old Lions, and it's not just because they're hitting in the preseason. It's because they have some decent talent on that team, and they have some good young talent on that team. And that's a team that's going to fight. They fought last season, and you knew, even though when the Eagles had that lead, you knew the Lions weren't going to just go away. And to their credit, they didn't, and they made a game of it, and they almost had that comeback, right? But again, to the Eagles' credit, they were able to walk away with a win. And one of the big reasons why was because Jalen Hurts made some plays when there was time to make some plays, right? The offensive line last week was bad. And, you're not going to have many weeks this season where you're going to call this offensive line that the Eagles have, they played poorly. Okay, we're not going to go through week after, this is poor offensive line play, right? That was an anomaly. That was also week 1. And that's what I mean. You're going to have games like that early in the season where you're you're still shaking the rust off from the offseason, and it's not because of what you do or don't do in the training camp and in the preseason. It's because, you have to get used to game situations, right? You can only do that so much in practice. We talk about practice, not game, not game. We talking about practice, okay? And you see that all around the league. I mean, look at some of the scores from last week. Low-scoring games, teams with high-powered offenses that really never got out of the starting gate, teams with, big aspirations in the season looking poorly. I mean, would you rather be a Dallas fan today or an Eagles fan? All right, let's be honest. Let's be honest, okay? That team looked like absolute hot mess on offense, even before Dak went out with injury. Okay? So yeah, you're going to get games. You're going to have moments of just disarray early in a season. And September is a lot of people say it, and I agree with it. It's an extension of the preseason in these September games. It's almost like these are kind of, in a way, preseason games, but ones that count a lot more in the standings, okay? You're going to have poor play. You're going to have times of feeling out. You're going to have teams with a lot new faces trying to learn the offense or the defenses, right? Or the coaches getting used to those players in-game situations. You're going to have that a lot. And again, I look back at last week, and I was frustrated too. I'm watching this game, and I'm watching the defense not make plays, and the Lions and Jared Goff, and why aren't we getting more pressure? Why aren't we doing this or that? Can't stop the run. What's going on? Blah, 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 right? But at the same time, at the end of the day, when the dust settles, you look back and you say, okay, you know what? We're 1-0. That's one less road game we have also on the season. We're 1-0 on the road, and now there's 16 more games to go, and we're one of the teams in the league that's 1-0 right now, and you still got to feel good about that. Now, is it that deep sigh of relief? No, there are things to work on, and there are things that I do believe this team will get better on as the season progresses, particularly the offensive line. That was one of those most anomaly-type situation weeks that you're going to have. And I know Detroit has some pretty good pass rush, and I know they have some playmakers on the other side of that football, but the offensive line last week just looked bad, and they looked bad at times, and it was one of those deals where if we didn't have a mobile quarterback, that probably would have been a loss last week. In fact, I almost guarantee it would have been a loss last week because some of those plays that Jalen was able to get away from with his feet and his legs and make some plays downfield, running with the football, would have been sacks, and sacks for losses by your traditional pocket passer, and that would have ended in more than likely punts, where some of those drives conversely ended in touchdowns and points. They ended in points instead of punts. And that's what you really want to have. Now, this is an offense that should score 30-plus points a game. They really should. Whether we want to talk about Jalen's arm and inconsistencies and whatnot, even with all that, this is an offense with the running game, with the wide receivers that they have, with the playmakers they have on the other side of the ball. And speaking of playmakers, oh my goodness, A.J. Brown. Thank you, football gods, for giving us A.J. Brown. It has been since prime Deshaun Jackson that we had a playmaking wide receiver like A.J. Brown. What a difference that guy is. The way he goes up and takes the football away from defenders. Let me repeat that, because it's been a while. Okay, we had the Aguilars. We had who did have a good season in 2017. I'll give him credit for that. But we had the Aguilars, like Aguilar. We had the J.J. Arcega-Whitesides. We had the Jalen Ragers. We had all these different receivers that wouldn't go and get the football. Take it away from a defender. Want that ball more in crucial situations like we saw last week with A.J. Brown. What a difference. That guy's a monster. He's going to be a monster all season. We hope to God he stays healthy. We hope to God that, right? Because we haven't had a receiver like that. And I know we had some, 2017 was a tremendous year in a lot of ways, right? And we had good wide receiver play in that year. We had good quarterback play in that year, right? But you kind of take that season out, it's been a lot of dreck. It's been a lot of bad wide receiver play. Crucial points in the game. potential game-winning touchdowns that they wouldn't catch the ball. That's what they're paid to do, catch the ball. Instead, they were afraid of the ball, or they were afraid of the defender. They didn't want to get hit. Oh, A.J. Brown doesn't mind. A.J. Brown goes up and gets it. My goodness, was that great to see. We can complain all we want about what Jonathan Gannon didn't do, play calling-wise on defense, and Jalen Hurts, he ran too much, and blah, blah, blah. But A.J. Brown, oh my goodness, what a performance by him, and what a debut by him. I mean, you talk about a game as good as it's going to get without scoring a touchdown. That was what you saw last week with A.J. Brown. It was tremendous. That being said, I would like to see Devontae Smith get a little more in the action on the offense, and I do believe it will happen. I think it was just one of those games. Hey, we're gonna give the ball to the new guy, and I don't blame him the way he played. My goodness, what a player he is. Tennessee, I don't know why he decided to trade him, but thank you. To Hassan family there, Slim's family, thank you. Okay. What a performance he had in week 1. And listen, there were a lot of positives you can take away. Again, the running game. The Eagles last week had 4 touchdowns by 4 different backs, including Jalen Hurts. You talk about the performance of A.J. Brown. Even in a game where the offensive line had one of their worst games in quite a while, the offense still was able to score 30-plus points, and in large part, that's because you have a mobile quarterback. Now, people can say, a mobile quarterback will never win, blah, 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 blah. Things happen, okay? I might remind some people, and I'm not comparing him to Mahomes. I'm not. Believe me, I'm not. Patrick Mahomes is a mobile quarterback. He won a Super Bowl, and he got to another one the next year. You can win with mobile quarterbacks. Now, do we want Jalen Hurts to be a little more proficient passing-wise? Yes. And again, it's going to be on him to do that as the season progresses. But you can win with a Jalen Hurts. You can. But there are other things that need to get better. And we do look at at the team coming in this Monday night, the Minnesota Vikings, really, really talented on offense, and they have playmakers all over. You talk about the wide receiver position, they certainly have it in spades. You talk about the running back, a top 5 back when healthy in Dalvin Cook. And their backup back is really good too. And let's face it, we can joke all we want about Kirk Cousins and the primetime record by him, the Monday night record and this and that. Over the years, Kirk Cousins picked the Eagles apart. When he was with Washington, even the games with the Vikings, I remember that game in Minnesota the year after the Super Bowl, I believe it was, when he just lit them up. Listen, when you give a quarterback like that time, he's going to pick you apart. And one of the problems in the Jonathan Gannon era here for the defense has been allowing the upper echelon quarterbacks to pick this team apart. And there were games that, listen, the offense kept them in. I remember some games last season. I was at one of those games against Kansas City where the offense kept them in the game, and the defense just couldn't get off the field. The Chargers game last season, defense couldn't get off the field. The offense scored a lot of points in that game. The defense just gave up more. The Tampa Bay game during the regular season, the offense did enough. The defense couldn't get off the field. We saw that, and that's one of the things that we had kind of in the back of our mind going into this season. How is Jonathan? Now look, they got more playmakers on that side of the ball, right? Including a pick 6 last week by Bradbury. I think it's interesting that the one takeaway from last week that was a pick 6. You had 2 of their new members on defense, right? You had Kazir White with the deflection, and then Bradbury with the pick, and he goes in for a touchdown, right? 2 of the new members of this defense. But yeah, Howie did yeoman's work this offseason to improve the defense. And it's up to the coaching staff to put these guys in the right place to be able to make those improvements work. I don't like what they did with Hassan Reddick so far. I don't like him in pass coverage. His strength is rushing the quarterback. His strength is as an edge rusher. And I'd love to see them use him more in that facet than like a linebacker. And I know he can do both. But over his career, his strength has always been, whether it was with the Cardinals, the Panthers, now with the Eagles, his strength is going to be rushing the quarterback, okay? Yes, he made a couple plays last week. I know he made a play against the run on a tackle and whatnot, But again, the strength of Hassan Reddick is going to be rushing the quarterback as an edge rusher, and I'd like to see them do more with him in that facet, okay? Yes, they can be a little more aggressive. Yes, they could, try to put pressure on the quarterback. And I'd like to see that this week because you are taking on a more traditional pocket passer in Kirk Cousins, and I'd like to see them try to get to him a little more than they did Jared Goff. Be a little more creative with the blitzing because, listen, with that offense, if you miss, they're going to burn you for a touchdown. You're going to have Thielen, you're going to have Jefferson, maybe Cook gets a screen pass and he goes for a touchdown, or an intermediate pass for a touchdown, or a big play. There's so many weapons on that side of the ball. I get not wanting to overdo it with the blitzing and because if you don't hit on that, they're going to burn you. I understand that, and I understand there's a fear for that, but you do want to see more, and I do believe you will see more this week, particularly at home with the home fans here, right? You in the home opener, you want to see more from this defense, and you want to see more creativity by Jonathan Gannon. Now, we haven't seen that a lot with him, and I will say that he drives a Ferrari like a Pinto so far this season. Let the guys do what they do. You have playmakers on that side of the ball. Let them be playmakers. Let them be playmakers. And my fear on this season is the one thing that can really, the Jalen Hurts deal aside, is the lackluster play calling on the other side of the football by Jonathan Gannon. And I need to see more from him. I really do. Because one thing that could derail this season is poor defensive play calling, right? The offense is going to score their points. We can talk about Jalen Hurts, this and that, right? They're going to score their points. I'm not worried about this offense. They will score their points. My concern more lies with the defense and with the play calling of Jonathan Gannon and not putting his players in the best possible positions to make those plays. To be a little more, I'm not saying be overly aggressive, oh, just blitz every down. No, you don't do that, But when there's time for it, you got to do it. I didn't see enough of that last week against a pocket passer in Jared Goff, a guy who really doesn't get away from the blitz, from the pressure. Right? He gets scared. He's a guy that gives the ball away to the other team. Okay. Didn't see enough of that last week. I didn't see enough creativity. And it's 1 week. It was week 1. It was on the road. Whatever. Okay, that game's behind us. We're not going to go about the Detroit game anymore because now it's about Minnesota. But I want to see more. And my fear is I don't know if I'm going to. And I think we're going to have the same kind of discussion. It's going to be like a broken record. A lot of games this season, like it was last season, where's the creativity? Why aren't they doing this? Why? Now, last season you can say it was personnel, right? And it was true. They didn't have a lot of playmakers on the other side of the ball. But now they do. But you got to use him. I would like to see more out of Jordan Davis. Listen, when he was in there last week, the Lions weren't running the ball. Okay, when the big dog was out there, number 90, that run got stopped. Right, for the Lions. That was during the time when they were having trouble moving the football, in large part because the running game wasn't there for them at that time when you had Davis in there to help clog things up over in the middle and put some pressure, right? I want to see more of him, and I understand he's a rookie, right? Week 1, listen, you're going to rely on your old stalemates, right? But I want to see, as the season goes on, I want to see more snaps for Jordan Davis because he's a very good, promising young defensive lineman, and I want to see more from him, more snaps for him as we get through this season, right? I would like to see more creativity. I think we have the linebackers now to do it, where you can have more blitz package, you can show a little more in that regard, where you could have a year ago. I think you have guys that can get there, that can put pressure on the quarterback, that can get to the quarterback like a Hassan Reddick, but you got to let him do it. Yes, I'm glad to see BG back on the field, and that was wonderful. And I know, listen, he missed some plays last week. You saw that if you watched the mic'd up YouTube vid the Eagles put out this week by Brandon Graham. There were plays that should have been there, but look, he's coming off injury. It's going to take some weeks. It is to get that game speed back, right? To get that game flow back. Okay, he's an older player, and but again, you have Hassan Reddick there. Here and there, let him get in there to get that pass rush, right? And we'll always be forever grateful to BG for the strip sack in the Super Bowl. But yeah, it's wonderful to see him. He's a leader. He's a vocal leader on that side of the ball. He reminds me a lot as far as vocality, like a Hugh Douglas back in the day. That type of vocal leader, right? But yes, I mean, Hassan is certainly a player who can get a lot of pressure on that quarterback, maybe give some breathers to BG on that side as a defensive end. Excuse me, pass rusher, and have some more success in that regard, getting pressure on the opposing quarterback. And you're going to have to do that this week against the Vikings. You really are. Oh. All that being said, like I said, it's great to be 1-0. It's great to have the home opener coming up on a Monday night game and primetime television in front of a national audience. Right, I think it's going to be a game that you're going to see some points with these two offenses, right? It is going to be exciting, and I look forward to this game. I really do. I'm sure there'll be a lot of anxious moments, particularly. Is Jonathan Gannon gonna do is he kind of moments, but it should be a good game. It's an early season game, and it's an early season game of two teams that could be two of the better teams in the NFC this season. Two teams that are going to be fighting for a division crown and playoffs and having playoff success. And it's an early season test, I think, for both teams. And I won't remind Viking fans of 2017, but we know. They know. All right? No, it's going to be a good game. I really do feel it's going to be an exciting game with lots of big plays on offense. And hopefully the Eagles can make some plays on defense. Hopefully they can get some takeaways. We know about Kirk Cousins' record on Monday night, but I throw that out the window. It's early in the season. If it was later in the season and the Vikings have already played a couple Monday night and he lost those games, then I think we look at the Monday night thing, right? It's week 2. I mean, looking at games from years past when you're in week 2 is unfair. It really is, because every season is its own, right? And listen, I mean, again, but we do talk about other seasons, and Kirk Cousins in the past has played well against the Eagles. He's probably played his best football, like against any opponent in his career. He's played probably games against the Eagles better than any other team. If I were to throw it out there, with his record combined with Washington and the Vikings, right? It's crazy. It's crazy, but as far as a prediction goes, it's the home opener. The fans are going to be there in full throat. I think they can make a difference in this football game. I think they'll give energy to the Eagles' defense and offense. I think we are going to see, more better play for a passing ass point from Jalen Hurts this week, because I think the offensive line is going to have a better game, certainly than they had a week ago. And I think they're going to give him a little more time to throw the ball than they did a week ago against Detroit, in part because it is a home game. You have the home fans there. It's not going to be as crazy loud as it was in Detroit in an enclosed stadium situation. And I think that, look, they're embarrassed by last week. I mean, yes, it was a win, but to them it was a loss because of how they played in front of Jalen Hurts. And I think you see a much better performance by them. There's a lot of leaders on that offensive line, guys that wear the C, guys that are prideful in what they do. And, they're going to lead by how they play in front of Jalen, and I believe you're going to see that this week. I think you're going to see a much better game by the O-line, like we're accustomed to seeing here. And I think Jalen's going to make some more plays with his arm than he did a week ago. Defensively, I do think they're going to, I hope, that they're going to try to get the Cousins a little more than they did Jared Goff. 1 sack last week, I believe, for this defense. And that was off of a botched snap. And where he had Cox and Graham combined for a sack on that play. And they needed it, because that kind of threw the Lions off in that drive, and they ended up punting the ball. I believe that was on that possession. So this week, I do think you're going to see a little more, and I would hope you would see a little more creativity with the defense, and you have some playmakers, use them, particularly against that offense. You cannot let that offense just do whatever they want because, listen, they're going to hurt you any week anyhow. If you're going to let Kirk Cousins sit back there like they did Jared Goff last week, I mean, the Vikings have the potential to score near darn close to, 24, 30 points in the first half, let alone the whole game. So you got to, be more aggressive, not to the detriment, though, not be overly aggressive where they're going to make big plays off of it, but where there's times to throw the blitz, times to get in Kirk Cousins' grill. That's what you got to do. And I would hope you'd see that on Monday night. I really do. So that's my take on last week in the coming game here for week 2. Good matchup. Good early season matchup. Exciting game. We still lament the fact we didn't draft Jefferson and the Vikings did. But that being aside, we have A.J. Brown now. And we have Devontae Smith now. And I'm excited for that. I am. I would love to have Justin Jefferson. And believe me, if I was in the war room for the Eagles and a lot of Eagle fans were in that war room, Minnesota, you wouldn't have just Justin Jefferson right now because we would have drafted him. But that being said, I'm glad to have the receivers we do now. I think they're going to put on a show. I really do. And I think that it's going to be an exciting game. I do. I think the Eagles win a close one. I think the home crowd gives them that win. And we get to 2-0. And then it's taking on good old Carson the following week. Good to see him again. All right, everyone. Well, look. It's that point in the program. And Festive. I know last week. Look, the Eagles got a win last week. But Festive, you want to... I understand the week didn't go very well for the Festive Four. A 1-3 start to the season. But Festive, as I said, the start of the season is like extended preseason. The start of the season, so, Festive, took a tough week last week with the picks. Okay. But this week, Festive has crunched the numbers doubly hard. Okay. Making sure that week 2 will make week 1 be a forgotten week. No one's even going to think about week 1. Week 2, Festive's coming back, and Festive's coming back tough. That's right, Festive. But Festive, it's not about being confrontational. It's about results. All right. So Festive this week has put out a 4-pack of winners. If you want to have some shekels in your pocket, extra shekels in your pocket, you better listen this week. Festive's angry now. Festive's not going to let week 1 be the way this season's going to go. So this week, for the Festive 4, Festive is hoping for a 4-0 week. 4-0 Festive. Look at that face. Look at it. Getting all choked up. Week 2. Festive likes this 4-pack of winners. Festive likes the Rams to rebound with a win against Atlanta, and I picked them in the... And by the way, thankfully this year I got out of week 1 in the WIP last fan standing deal because I picked Baltimore last week. That was good. So I picked the Rams to try to get me through week 2 this week. Maybe have a winning streak in the last fan standing, right? But Festive likes them too against Atlanta. Festive, boy, you're putting a lot of hope in Cincinnati. They burned you last week, but Festive doesn't think Cincinnati's going to burn Festive 2 weeks in a row. And is going with Cincinnati over Dallas. The backup quarterback. Cincinnati rebounds the defending AFC both the defending NFC and AFC champs, Super Bowl champs, of course, the Rams, and AFC champs rebound with wins, according to Festive this week against Dallas. Atlanta and Dallas. And then, Pistol's going to be happy about this one. And Snacks. Festive likes the Las Vegas Raiders against Arizona. Festive is picking Las Vegas against Arizona. And finally, because no one owns Chicago more than Michael Jordan, then Aaron Rodgers. So Festive believes that the Packers got their horrible Week 1 game, their annual Week 1 collapse game out of the way. And in their home opener, Festive tonight, Sunday Night Football, likes Aaron Rodgers to continue his dominance. Sorry, Big John. Don't blame Festive. It's Aaron Rodgers. Festive likes Green Bay over Chicago. And look at this. There's a lot of 0-1s here that Festive likes to get their first wins of the season. And believe me, Festive picked these games because Festive believes. Festive believes in the rebound this week, and the rebound for these teams, and the rebound for the Festive Four, and the rebound for the Festive picks. No one circles the wagons like Festive. Let that be a reminder to any doubter. We saw the comments on Twitter. We know. Oh, maybe that Fox isn't as sly anymore with the picks. Oh, yeah? That's right. You remember that face when Festive gets the wins this week and gives you some shekels in the pocket. That's right, because Festive never gets thanked for those shekels, by the way. There's never any, oh, thanks for the picks. I made some shekels. No. They come at Festive when Festive loses. All right. Anyhow, that's right. You can go back over there. You can go back and get some rest. It was hard work making those picks. I understand Festive. No one puts in the work. Not even the NFL Network people put in the work like Festive. I mean, that Fox does work. You don't know. All right, everyone. Well, thanks for watching as always. And as always, let's go Birds. Let's try to get the 2-0 with a win against Minnesota. It's going to be tough. Minnesota's a very good team. Like I said, these two teams could be two of the better teams in the league as in the NFC as the season draws to an end in December, January. You might be looking back at this game as a potential tiebreaker. It could be. It could be for seeding, right? So this is an important game, an early season important game for our Birds versus those Skull fans, right? A lot of good that did them those years ago. We remind because it was true. Sorry, Jake. Anyhow, I will see you all next week for week 3, and we're hoping to be talking about a 2-0 start for our Birds, right? But anyhow, I will see you then, and you all take care. Enjoy the games this weekend. Let's go Birds, and see you again in week 3. Bye, everyone.